And even if you were to have like a prompt of 10 different things, right? Like say if you had one prompt of like, oh, like here's 10 different personality traits, here's 10 different superpowers, here's 10 different drawbacks.
I like coming up with random list of powers and then just see what I come up with.
Imagine rolling just those things every single time. It's always going to vary. The possibility of that happening is, again, like a 1 in 10 chance, but it's like, it shows that there's
always something else cool right around the corner that we can come up with, because there's no end to the prompts. There's no end to what we can roll up.
Now we're going to be officially rolling for superpowers. This is usually the make or break.
Roll for hero.
Uh-oh, we're in the wrong place. There we go.
Yeah. We're here. We're there. What happened?
We're here. We're live. We're on.
We're on. Oh,
Yep.
my goodness. I don't know why my screen's looking like that.
I have no idea. What is up, Deadpool, Jordan, Ben, Dragon Gaming? Good to see everybody.
So many tabs open. All right. I am so sorry about that, everybody. Ayo, and hello, everyone, and welcome to a Roll for Hero recap. This is a segment of the show where we're finally going to recap and show off all the amazing art pieces that we have managed to create throughout the entirety of this show on Roll for Hero. I am super excited for it today. Not only that, I also feel like this is a really nice, fun, laid-back, segment that Fish and I can do because we still haven't really came up with a lot of stuff for the prompts for season 3. So we are super excited. Not only that, I think it would also be a really great opportunity for us to really have y'all pop on into the chat, really allow us to kind of build this entire thing together, because Fish and I, we're doing a lot of the work here. Fish more than me, let's be brutally honest here. But, we would love to have a lot of the interactions and whatnot. But for today, we're going to be showing off all of the amazing art pieces that we've managed to create thus far for the entirety of Season 2, in which I call the Starbound Universe.
Dum, dum, dum.
I know, right? The name actually I remember trying to use for something else entirely different. So I feel like calling this universe the Starbound Universe has a bit of a unique flair to it and stuff like that. So
It's
I'm really
a great
excited.
name.
Oh yeah,
It
hold
is
on
a
a
great
second.
name. I'm happy to use it.
Let me remove this real quick. I'm gonna probably do a whole I don't know what happened.
Ben
Frozen
knows
mine,
where
yeah.
it's at and where it goes. That's what I was trying to pull up, and it went all screwy on me.
All right.
It is the last day for the Kickstarter. We're in the last 3 hours. We have broken my personal highest goal I've ever gotten on one of my campaigns on my personal page. We're within range of hitting my all-time highest goal. And let's see. There we go. Now he's on. And
There we go.
we just hit my all-time personal backer count high goal, 112. We did that on the last green zone. So what's up, Rob? So if we get one more person, then I break my all-time personal best for backers. So I'm excited for that. And I got one buddy that always waits till the end. Drives me up the freaking wall. But he always waits till the end to back. He wants to be the last backer, but then I have late pledges open after this. So if you miss it, you can still get a copy. It's just going to be a little bit more expensive because, late backers are a little more expensive than the people that got it on time.
All right. I'm super excited. Speaking of the Green Zone world, I actually wanted to kind of kickstart this entire episode off with showing 2 different Roll for Hero episodes that we did that actually aren't tied to this entire science fiction universe. So, starting off the recap, we're actually not going to do anything yet within the Starbound universe, but in reality, we're actually going to start off with the Green Zone universe and get to show off what we managed to create for that episode. So I'm going to start off by showing off, the character that I've drawn for that Green Zone Kickstarter fund, when we first launched it. So this is the character that I more or less drew up, and what's it called? Basically drew up I rolled up a soldier in. So basically this, for those that don't know, the Green Zone is set in Mr. Fish's comic book world, in which there are people who have superpowers. Basically, it's it's basically like the Marvel universe, but more I guess, grounded. You like the X-Men are actually trying to fight for citizenship, and then the Avengers.
What's up,
And
John?
yeah, sorry. I mean, Mr. Fish, how would you describe the Green Zone? I mean, I don't know why I'm talking about your book like this.
Hey, you're doing a fine job of it. It is a place where anybody can be born as a mutant. And when you are, you lose all your rights and citizenship. You get shoved into the green zones, which are, sort of like District 9 from that movie with the bugs, where they shove you out there into the green zones and they forget about you. And, you're on your own and good riddance because you're all supervillains waiting to happen. If you want to get out and make a better life for yourself, if you want to get your citizenship and be able to vote and own property and own a business legally and all that stuff, then you have to prove you're not a threat to humanity and you have to serve the greater good for 5 years. So if you can make it 5 years in the military or on the fire department or the police force in this case, even sanitation, if you can make it 5 years, you get your citizenship without getting killed by mutant gangs with superpowers or getting shot by human cops or getting arrested for using your powers or any of the other terrible things that can happen to you. If you survive, then you can get out and make a better life. So that's what they're doing.
So, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so with that in mind, the character that I ended up rolling up for, Mr. Fish's Green Zone universe was actually a soldier who happens to have spider-like adjacent powers, but he has like an extra quirk to his abilities, which is that he can actually mutate other people. So imagine if like the spider from Spider-Man actually was like a living person in a weird way. And then you would have something like this. So you have like a literal mutant human spider looking kind of a character, which I honestly think would be very interesting to see how a character like this would survive in the Green Zone universe, especially because of the way that he looks. And, the U.S. military would not allow someone like this to actually walk around and about. Because imagine seeing an actual spider human looking kind of guy. Everyone would be mortified. So I can imagine this guy has actually served more than 5 years in the military, and he's going to continue serving until at some point, he is gifted his rights, which to him, that might never happen.
Yeah. I still like my Green Zone villain Blood Diamond character I rolled up. Oh, that was epic. That was real epic. What's your thoughts on the U.S. denying AI copyright? Here's a correction. Your thoughts on U.S. court denied AI copyright protection? Well, yeah, it's not a person generating anything. It's just rehashing, what was already there, and you can't copyright that. You can only copyright the originality. You can only copyright your original idea, your spark that you put into it. And AI is not doing that. Eventually, if corporate entities pump enough money into it, they can probably pay the court off to change their opinion on it. But until then,
think of it this way. Disney literally lobbied the government to keep the rights for Mickey Mouse for a longer time than it should have happened. Mickey Mouse should have been in the public domain a while ago, but because the company itself decided that they wanted to try to keep the mouse as long as they could, that's exactly what they did. That's why they actually call it the Mickey Mouse Act. If you ever learned about copyright laws and stuff like that, because Disney actually lobbied it. So Disney, if they wanted to, they could put the money in, but let's be honest, they're finding all cheap ways to get stuff out there. But grim realities of AI and stuff like that aside, let's actually dive into another fun little recap. So this is the character that I've done. Mr. Fish, I see that. So Mr. Fish did a very interesting character. What is it that you ended up rolling up on that episode?
My character was interesting because he doesn't have any real powers per se, but then he had a fire elemental form. Like he could appear like he has fire, but he clearly, when we rolled him up, he didn't have any real powers. So what I came up with was the idea of this guy that can generate this fairy fire kind of energy off of him that looks like flame, and he can even make it look like it's on other things, like the chain that he has in his hands. But he's all bluff and bluster, and he's all about looking as big and as bad as he possibly can because he lives in the blocks with people that can eat you alive or people that can brainwash you or shoot lightning through you and stuff. So his little I can look like I have fire is pretty weak. So he's got to make himself seem as tough as possible so that you don't want to get burned by it and make you too afraid to strike him, and So
Basically
the
putting
idea of having to bluff your way through life in such a dangerous world just really, really tickles me, and I like that idea. He's probably going to end up in the book at some point because I really like that idea too much. He can't be too high because like the bosses are going to know he's faking, but like. I like the character. I like what he came up
Now,
with.
this
I
was a
just wish
ton
I
of
got him finished, but I ran out of time. Exactly.
Yeah.
Illusionary Flames.
pretty much. And then, so on a secondary episode, one that's not really tied to the Starbound, I was gonna say Skybound, to the Starbound universe, is actually where it was my fiance's birthday, and we wanted to basically roll up a character, or basically she ended up rolling up a character, and we followed suit. So, Mr. Fish, how about you explain what you ended up drawing before I show up what I did?
Let me see what I rolled exactly. This is
It's
why I
only known
write it
as-
down,
As we
because
look through the tomes of our
my
notebooks.
memory is so bad. Oh, wait a minute, that
That's
was
a picture of the wizard blessing a sandwich. That's Holy Scriptures. No.
okay. Here it was. Yep, Fiance Fantasy. I'm a failed magical experiment with the power of body weapons, hand-to-hand combat, and energy projection, seeking a cure for my powers, and the power comes from an artifact. So when it came to body weapons, I ended up going Gator because I was inspired by a friend of mine's story that he wrote, and in it, this cult worships a giant alligator, and I thought, and the alligator basically they just found a big alligator and brought him in to be their god that they worshipped that was a giant alligator and just kept feeding him. But I thought, what if there was an artifact in that temple that actually started to turn one of them into the god that, and the more you use these powers, the more you lost control of yourself. And, and the teeth and the claws and the tail all fit into the body weapon, and seeking a cure for your power. Absolutely wanting to seek a cure from this, crocodile lycanthropy, was too cool to pass up. So, and I got to draw a big gator with, big reptilian mitts like Virgil, and I always like drawing that. So, yeah.
And
I like drawing gators.
Yeah, reptiles are a lot of fun to draw if you know how to draw them correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for what I ended up, same prompt, but I actually ended up taking the fiance's Dungeons and Dragons character that we ended up doing for like a random one shot, and I turned it from what was once a fighter into a full blown like kung fu style monk. So she is actually like a failed experiment who was gifted this strange nose ring, and this nose ring is actually like a curse. So you can kind of see it if you see it in her eye. It's like giving her these magical powers, but it's actually like decaying her body in the process. So she has amazing hand-to-hand combat, her body weapons being, her horns and, maybe her tail. But then again, she's also like a minotaur, like,
Oh
being.
man, those hooves would hurt.
Oh yeah. So she's like so the weirdest way to describe it, she is a strawberry cow minotaur monk. Because it was a food themed campaign at some point. I forgot why. Totally not at all related to the first D&D campaign I ever ran, which was a candy themed pirate campaign. But I really like the way this came out. Love the overall monk vibes. Doggone, don't you worry, you are practically on time. We haven't even gotten to the fun stuff yet, so we're just doing a fun recap for today. But yeah, so this was a ton of fun to do. Hopefully, if any of our birthdays lie again on a Wednesday, I can't wait to see what we end up doing. But it was very fantasy themed as well because of the fact that I ended up going to medieval times with her. It was a blast and a half. This was a very fun drawing and one that I'm very glad that I was able to execute properly. So I had a blast putting this one together. And Mr. Fish's drawing is freaking awesome. Again, his style is very toyetic. So I very much enjoy the way that Mr. Fish draws a lot of his characters because they look like they're just action figures ready to go.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I like the aesthetic of the action figure type vibe. Them being a little overly muscular or whatever. I dig it, and so that's what I go with because that's what's fun.
All right, now we are officially diving into the Starbound universe. So I decided to call this Starbound because I feel like it has that awe-inspiring title like Star Wars. This is like a fun retro yet. So imagine like the retro like cartoons, like Hanna-Barbera style, like sci-fi cartoons, a touch of some Star Wars and some Star Trek stuff here and there, merged together to create this intensively strange, unified sci-fi universe. And
What's up, Brian?
Brian, how we doing? How we doing? And starting off this entire Starbound universe is, of course, the heroes that we drew in episode 1, which is Jupiter Jack and Meteor Mandy. We basically rolled up the same prompts, but it's size changing, hit with their powers came from a supervillain.
Mhm.
And what was it? So what's it called? They were basically they're heroes that got powers from a supervillain. And then, dang it, I know we wrote them somewhere.
Energy projection, size changing, a weakness to a particular item, and adventure seekers.
Yes. So I decided
That's
to kind
why
of
I write them down.
I know I have them here somewhere. So for me,
And I got
decided
it from
to
watching you.
The funny thing is that so for me, I decided to go with a more pulp-ish style sci-fi kind of hero that would wear like the classic tight shirts. They basically look like they're wearing modern clothing, but with like a few sci-fi elements like the headgear and like the part that like attaches to the neck. And I gave it that superhero flair by giving it the like classic look of like a Jupiter icon on the chest. And that was more or less my design for it. And I decided that he was going to be a cosmic being that would shoot energies, but he actually grows to the size of Jupiter, or he is simply known as, as Mr. Fish puts it, Jupiter Jack, the Galactic Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is it that Mr. Fish made? Come on, buddy, you gotta come here.
I went the other direction and made a character that shrinks and has energy projection, but like more uses it to fly, but also can do blast with it. And just thought it was cool if they got hit with a size changing ray, and when he was going big, if I went the other direction with it. And I had her in basically just like a generic Star Cadet kind of, cosmic cadet outfit. But then something either in the comments or something struck me, and it hit me to add the meteor texture to like some armor on her. And that just made the whole outfit sing.
You know what it was? I think it was because we were saying like what the names were, like Jupiter Jack.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So like
yeah,
I had
that's probably what did it.
So then
the
we had
Meteor Mandy was
Mandy,
just too funny.
and it only made sense that she would look like a meteor. And I remember the gimmick was that for her, the smaller she gets, the more she looks like an actual meteor, like an actual like rock flying through space. So like imagine a Meteor Mandy action figure that actually transforms into like a little actual like a rock transforms to a girl.
That was the worst Transformers ever. He even put them out. Rock On and Stondar. They transformed into just rocks because they were supposed to be outer space comet men.
Remember when I came up with the name? Yeah, that's right. Jordan came up with the name Meteor Mandy, and then inspiring the overall costume, designed for, having the whole vibe of it being, a meteor. So these were the first two heroes in our Starbound universe, the classic pulp era, looking kind of heroes. Also, when drawing the cover, it was a lot of fun getting to draw the kinetic, energy of like Meteor Mandy flying across Jupiter Jack. But yeah, so like for me, this is again very pulpish, very much like skin tight, something that you could see something like someone wear in the 60s. Think of it like a Star Trek style where
that's the thing I love about the old sci-fi movies is I love it when like, they take off their space helmet and all this stuff and they've got their ray gun, but then they're like wearing slacks. Like, are those polyester slacks like, atmosphere safe? Like, are you not going to decompress in outer space through the weave of your polyester slacks? But I just love it, man. I love it. She's a shell former. Exactly.
There you go. So that is Jupiter Jack, Meteor Mandy, starting off the entire Starbound universe. Now, of course, it turns out when we rolled up their origin story, they ended up getting hit by, it turns out a supervillain gave them their superpowers. So who ended up giving them their superpowers? And I think we ended up exploring that within episode 2.
No, that was episode 3.
I lied.
Episode 2 was you and TS, and then I came back and did mine for episode 2. because that
So
was where we ended up
this
with
way
the
around. Okay.
Deceptiles.
Yep. So episode 2, I fumbled so badly on that episode. I rolled the intro. I did everything correctly, and I didn't hit record. Oh my god, the embarrassment of a lifetime, I tell you. But outside of that, the rest of the stream went totally fine. So we rolled up some alien characters. There was a lot to it with all the lists that I ended up putting together. But realistically, what it came down to is that they were like reptilian-esque or, squid-adjacent creatures. They were given 7 tentacles, eyes with these strange, 6 eyes on eye stalks. And they had like a human-like head. They had a human-like body. So I ended up coming up with this character over here. I've actually saw some of Mr. Fish's latest post, which was me always talking about, this rendition of the character, which is like Miss Dobby, or I forgot, she went by 3 different names. But I think that's the cool part about this character. So the way that I would have gone about this character, that she's a bounty hunter. And she went by 3 different names. And if you're on good terms with her, you would know her by a few of these said names. So TS decided to take a more grotesque route, but in the best way possible by making it look like it's this strange, horrific kind of creature. And
his came out really neat. I liked it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And because he also played with the CMYK style too, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
To see the Cosmic Coalition members walk through the hallways, have Jupiter Jack, Meteor Mandy, and the heroic side. Yeah, I mean, and trust me, we'd love to see more of that kind of stuff. Next time on Starbound, Jupiter Jack and Meteor Mandy versus the Dark Matter Coalition.
And I was on the road on the way back from somewhere when that show was going on, but I was listening, and the whole time y'all were talking and rolling stuff up, I was thinking okay, what would I do if I got that role? How would I do that? And the 6 eyes on stalks, I was like, well, it doesn't say 6 eyes have to be on 6 stalks. And then I started thinking of combinations, and then I thought of 3 eyes on 2 stalks was cool. And then as you kept going and started talking about your characters being bounty hunters and being the people that come and go in the dark corners, and they're not all bad, they're not all good, it just depends on the situation. I started thinking, and I was reminded of Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch. And once I got there, I had to do a snake version of Huggy Bear in his pimp outfit. And I just thought it was just too funny. So I had to come back and do one for myself for that one. And somebody in the comments had yelled out Deceptile on the next show. And yes. I was like, oh, that has got to be the name for my for these characters. So he individually is Jivarius Jive Walker, but Deceptiles is what we decided is the name for their species, which can look very different from
because they also have shape-shifting abilities and whatnot, so they always tend to look different. Miss Dobby puts a more feminine energy out there, and she tends to be this very Southern Belle kind of a squid alien lady. You mess with me now, honey. You're done for kind of a deal. And then I can see that with TS's rendition, that his would be he doesn't really care. You hire the guy, he's going to get the job done whether you like it or not. And then you got Snake Space Pimp over here. Deadpool's always coming up with clever names, man.
But yeah, I just see him as one of those fast talking, yeah, baby, what you want? I got you. Whatever you need, I can get it, man. And just I just love the idea of this character. And he's so kind of out of place in what I naturally would have assumed would be the world of a campy space ghost type, Flash Gordon type hero. But that's why I love him even more, because he's out of the box and he doesn't fit in with, your normal space wizards and whatnot. He's weird, and I dig it.
And that's the whole point of this entire Starbound universe. We have to creating a bunch of these fun characters and just kind of letting them live out, it's a way to explore the universe without it being so similar. You know, like with Star Wars, you can tell something is distinctly Star Wars. You know, like with Star Trek, that's like a 50-50 because sometimes it can look something more fantasy, something more into sci-fi, or somewhere in between. And then this is like, it could be its own thing, you know? And then, well, for mine, I definitely kept it within the confines of that 60s sci-fi vibe. But that's just me. Now, outside of this, though, these were some really fun characters that we were putting up together. Well, hold on. We got Benjamin saying, imagine if the Starbound characters were venomized. Now, that would be bonkers. Have either of y'all tried cosplay like superheroes or Star Wars characters or anything? I have. I have cosplayed a good chunk of characters. But a good chunk, I think the best one that I was ever able to pull off was Spider-Man because I had a crappy luchador mask. I had like a jacket, like his homemade suit kind of vibe. And then I also cosplayed as a KFC samurai. Don't ask where I got all the buckets. I'm not even joking. My old TikTok account, till this day, like people always tag that old account because of the fact that I dressed up as a KFC samurai. I used to work at KFC and I stole like a bunch of like buckets and containers and I made a whole suit of armor out of that. It was hysterical. You know what? Hold up. Where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you? There you are.
Have I tried cosplay? No, because the characters that I want to cosplay, like Kingpin and stuff, I'm big, I'm fat, he's got a cane, it's perfect, but I'm not shaving for it, and I can't deal with.
That is true.
Kingpin doesn't have a big long beard.
It's not every day that a person from Georgia looks at your cosplay and goes, hey, can I make something for it? And I'm like, bet. I'm the only man in existence to own a KFC sword with the initials of the company at the hilt and Colonel Sanders' face at the end of this.
That's pretty epic.
This is the most legendary thing I've ever owned. And it was because some dude in Georgia saw my suit and was like, bet. So yeah, I like the cosplay a lot.
I love the idea of it, and I love making things for cosplays because I'm a maker at heart. So I've helped my son do a lot of cosplays and tried to help my daughter, but she's stubborn as all get out and wants to make it all herself. But yeah, I've got all the tools, all the equipment to make dang near anything. I built my own vacuum former, all kinds of stuff. The whole reason I made one character for Green Zone, who's hopefully going to show up at some point, was so I would have a character to be able to cosplay, because it's just me in a nice suit with a giant fish dog. And so
and we love that.
I love it.
Now, as much as I loved answering that question, let's actually show off the third character that we ended up making on our show. So this one, we actually officially created the villains for, this entire Starbound universe. So we created, I created more or less the henchmen, while Mr. Fish created the actual, overall big bad. Now, this was an episode where we really didn't know how it was going to turn out because of the fact that Fish already had something in his mind at first, right?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I was thinking evil scientist. I was thinking big, bug-eyed, short, chibi, proportioned little mad scientist that, hit them with a shrink ray. And then we ended up rolling up. Years of training gave them their powers of telekinesis and a healing factor and size change and enhanced senses, adventure seeker, an insectoid with no eyes, scales, a crested fin, and human mouth and limbs. And so, yeah, that really threw a monkey wrench in what I was planning on doing. So we had to flex and come up with something cool on the spot. But I really like the way he came out, Lord Dominus. And I reused a look that I have loved since I was a kid in the 70s and first saw, I think it was a police chief on an old cop show that had the mutton chop mustache, beard. And I thought that was so cool. I was going to grow up to have that when I grew up. And that was what I always wanted to have when I grew up. And I made a superhero with that at one point. And then I used that as fins when he had to have crested fins. would still be interesting if one of Czar's race joined the Cosmic Coalition. That would be cool. Nothing compared
Yeah.
to badminton training.
That's nothing compared to badminton training. Yeah, that's true. I've seen people talk about that whole thing. It's hilarious. Now, of course, for me, I more or less kind of created a like the henchman, if you will. Like this is who, again, Mr. Fish's character is called Lord Dominus. If I had to name specifically one of them, this would be Khazar, who would actually be like, again, one of the typical minions. They're all no-eyed, creatures and whatnot. I went with a more insect adjacent one. Mr. Fish went with a more, ironically enough, fish aesthetic for his character. And I really love the way that these character designs came out, especially this one. I'm not going to lie. This is my favorite henchman design I think I've ever designed, period.
It's a really good look.
It's like I'm kind of mad it's just for this because I want to use this design for something else, but it's for Starbound. It stays in this universe.
Nothing's stopping you. It could be, it could be an alien that landed, one of the race landed on, Earth, and now the grub's fighting him or something, man. You can do what you want with it.
Don't tempt me. Trust me. I already got issues planned for that, and I already took 2 days off making that thing. Anyways, but yeah, so this is Khazar and Lord Dominus. Basically, they come from the same planet, the leaders of the Dark Matter Coalition. I can totally see this just being like, again, and not only that, drawing the cover, or at least my rendition of the cover is very interesting, getting to see, what's it called? Like Lord Dominus, like being this larger than life villain as he's letting his henchmen swarm down. I got the cover here somewhere. There you are. Where are you? There you are. So this is the cover that I at least did for it. Trying to stick to how like Fish tends to format some of his covers. So this is, the galactic adventures of Jupiter Jack. And, we have Lord Dominus, destroyer of worlds. All right. Really happy to see you guys back making new videos. I wanted to ask, when are you guys going to make, for me, make a value series? That's a great question. I'm still going to get onto that at some point. I've just been hitting a bit of a few lows here and there. But yeah, the general gist of it is probably sometime, as much as I don't want to say next month, just because this is a very crucial month for me and the fiance because our wedding is coming up. And we, a lot of time and attention has to go into that. So, a lot of stuff.
Sometimes some things have to come first, and wedding's pretty high up there on the comes first.
Oh yeah. So we'll see what happens. But for now, I'm really just excited to indulge in doing this fun video for today. But yeah, so we even got to create some like fun covers like this. I love Mr. Fish's rendition. Actually, even getting to show off like the abdomen, if you will, for bugs. It's like the big butt on them, essentially. But I love the way how you were able to like make that work and show it off. And I really didn't expect to kind of see it like that until, I had to start drawing all the, henchmen kind of coming down at them. Oh, man, this was like a ton of fun to put together. This was a really fun cover. Jordan asked, what are the main villain is like Krang from the TMNT in the big body is actually a mechanical suit for the real mastermind who's actually is really small and weak. So like Lord Dominus's actual body is like more or less like a facade, while like in that belt is actually the true. Oh, okay. There could be some potential there.
It'd be a cool idea. I mean, we rolled up that he spent years of training to get to this point, but I love the idea of like the fake out of, oh God, what was the dude in Ben 10 that was a head in the suit? Like he was a little bitty dude in a big giant suit. With
I know there's only one other character that I can think of, which was Dr. Animo, but that's like his future rendition where he ends up
No. This was he first showed up with 6-6 with the bounty hunters when they were hunting down the Omnitrix, and that one bounty hunter turned out to be a crystal sapien, whatever they are.
Basically like Diamond Head, essentially.
Yeah, but the dude, he's brown. He's got like bug jaws on the top of his head and his mouth.
Okay, I think
he's got a little bitty baby body on his giant head, and then he wears that big giant suit with the muscles and stuff. I mean, it's essentially the same thing. He's Krang just at the top.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, he's the only fish adjacent one on a bug adjacent planet. I mean, look at his people. They're all bug-like. He's the only one that's fish-like. Who knows? Oh man,
Yeah,
that was
scales are scales. Just because he said he had to have a crested fin, it was in the roll. It was in your list of traits that we rolled on.
I'm aware. I'm just saying words because I'm trying to speak and function. Anyways, outside of that, this was a fun episode 3 right over here. So again, to create Khazar, the minions for Lord Dominus, and Lord Dominus himself is equally just as imposing. And I can imagine story-wise how he's like literally the most imposing villain by far. You think, oh, he's blind, we can take him out. Nah. Knocks out Jupiter, Jack, and Meteor Mandy like, they're
there we go.
Trash back in the wind.
Vulcan, yeah, that was him.
Isn't Vulcan
I can't believe at one point I had all the alien races memorized, and then they like started changing some of them when they updated new lore, and I got mad because they started changing it.
Especially if we're talking Ben 10 stuff, I actually can't wait for the day that the new Ben 10 comic book series comes out because I am going to collect the crap out of that.
I can't believe that they're not doing like a big budget live action movie now, because like everybody that grew up with it is now an adult, and though that's the problem with the nostalgia thing is the adults my age have more spendable money than the new crops of adults that are coming up, which is why so much of the nostalgia stuff is still aimed at my generation and not aimed at you guys, because Volcanus, okay. But yeah, but that's why Industry Insider said, because.
And then here's what I will say: if there's any series that deserves to have any reboot, any revamp, especially a live action movie, but like it has to be done right. Here's the thing: Ben 10, I think, had about 3 live action movies. They were all garbage. But for a Ben 10 fan, it didn't matter. You got to see them in real life, per se.
Yeah.
You got to see, Heat Blast in real life. You got to see Diamond Head, Gray Matter, and then you got to see Wild Mutt. Now, I wish they used cooler aliens. Something like, don't get me wrong, Diamond Head, perfect one to use. Heat Blast, perfect. Gray Matter, I feel like could have been a completely not usable type thing because they only use them for a comedic bit. Wild Mutt was actually not a bad idea. I just feel like they could have just done Gray Matter with something else. They just had to use him for a comedic bit in the soda shop or whatever the heck it was. But what I did like about
Upgrade,
but I will say, Upgrade would have been awesome. But here's the thing. And what actually was really interesting is the fact that they still added those movies to the lore of the TV show. So if you saw all of Ben 10,
the little microscopic dude got added in, and
exactly
evil Ben 10 dude.
In the first live action movie, Race Against Time, they added Egon, the villain from the movie, and he became the big bad later on in like Omniverse. And then you had the live action secondary movie when Ben is a teenager. He got to be in the full-blown, like some villains and some characters managed to still make their way there. So that's like the only time where like you have to kind of watch a few other things beyond the cartoon to kind of get more context. You know what I mean? But it's also the funny thing too, like if you actually know Man of Action's story, is that they literally been making things up on the spot just so that they can get a job. Nanomech, yes.
I was wanting to say tech, and I knew that wasn't right. Yeah, that's it.
Oh man, I actually for those that also do or don't know, before I changed my character Ultra Power to Power Core, I actually made him like a Ben 10 clone, and I actually came up with a whole roster of all of the aliens that he would turn into. So that
was when I first found you on TikTok, and you're saying, "Yeah, I'm making this book about Ben 10 and Spider-Man and blah blah blah," and I was like, "This kid's gonna get sued."
It worked. I got you hooked.
You absolutely did. It worked 100%. It worked like a charm. It got me in the door, man.
All right. Well, outside of that, though, this is obviously the 3rd episode that we put in. To think we got a few more on the way. Imagine that Kev 11 absorbs the DNA of the aliens in Starbound. Now that would be very interesting. Who knows?
Wait a second. These aren't the
same. No. You're right. Because for me, I have it kind of switched around a little bit on my side, so you're fine.
Okay.
So on episode number 4, we shot this season towards like the end of the year. So this one was actually the holiday episode. This was our Christmas episode that we did. It was actually shot on Christmas Eve. And on that episode, we basically rolled up, like classic, Christmas adjacent characters and put them in a specific occupation. So, Mr. Fish, pop off because yours was way cooler. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, hold on. Let's see.
So you rolled up reindeers and soldier. I know it was that.
Yeah, I got reindeer and I got soldier, and I think I got flight, but it came from outside or came from my suit or something, I believe. But anyway, so I designed up this character, and as we were talking about it in the chat, originally I was just thinking like this is what the soldiers that like work for Space Santa look like, and then somebody asked in the comments, does he just have 8 of these soldiers? And I just popped off the top of my head. I was like, no, he has 8 different commanders that command different legions that have different specialities. And then I started just riffing, and I was like, one goes, one is like air powered flight, one is tactical ground unit, one is like deep sea demolitions. And then I just really wanted to see an undersea reindeer, with goggles and fins and the whole 9 yards. And that reminded me, the more I was talking about it, it reminded me of the Centurions. And I ended up coming up with this cover for Reindeer Games, Ground, Air, Marine Exosuits. And so you've got all these different squad leaders that bust off into all these different suits, and their suits can be upgraded as they need it with new weaponry and tactical gear and stuff, so that they can go tunneling through the earth, or they can go flying through outer space, or they can go rocketing through the ocean, or whatever. And again, very toyetic, completely ripping off the Centurions with the whole look and the vibe. But it's fun, man. It's fun, and nobody's doing anything with the Centurions right now, so I'm not worried.
And not only that, I mean, that is, I was so mad. Here's the thing with Mr. Fish and his art, it pisses me off that half the crap that he makes isn't actual toys. Like, a part of me would actually go to a Walmart, go to a Target, try to find it, and try to buy it, because I would legitimately buy the freaking Reindeer Games action figure.
See, that's the problem. If I made these if I had a 3D printer, I would be making these as toys, and there would be so many freaking accessories that you could snap on and switch out, and switch out the arms and the heads, and then switch out the gear on them, and mix and match, and have a outer space deep sea tank and whatever. Yeah. Would be interesting to see the other Christmas figures in the Starbound universe. Absolutely. Somebody can go to your Instagram and see a whole mess of characters like that, because somebody knocked out way more of them than we did. Anyway, tell me about your Mrs. Claus.
So I ended up rolling Mrs. Claus, being more like of a commander. I think I did soldier as well, or I think I got a commander or something like that. Basically, she is like the higher up in the the northern. I ended up kind of making the joke of the north sector of the galaxy. There's the western sector, the eastern sector, the southern, and the northern sector of the galaxy. So you have, Mrs. Claus over here. I decided to go a little different and make her again, probably not uncommon, but a black, Santa Mrs. Claus. I know, shocking. But I made her like a tactical leader. But I think I made this interesting because she has a few tactical outfits. So we actually have this outfit, which is like her icy blue outfit, which is what she would wear for proper and formal gatherings or something like that. Yeah, I did all 6 Christmas characters that were listed.
Overachiever after my own heart is Benjamin. So that's what got me was when you started making all these different costumes. I was like, oh, that's cool. And that reminded me of all those action figures that you would get, this is Arctic Adventure Batman. And it's basically the same one, but he's painted blue, and and they gave him skis or something stupid. And that got me. So I was like, oh yeah, I've got to do something cool.
So we have essentially Mrs. Claus in her more icy blue apparel. This is what she would actually wear more onto the battlefield if she's leading the cause or whatnot. Then we have, of course, her classic red attire. This is her being bold and brash and ready to attack. And then we have what I call her more intricate outfit. This is her full-blown battle ready, has like, her space laser gun on her side, like going in guns blazing. This is like her more athletic outfit, if you will. Like she's on the cold front battlefield. Speak of my friend, you have the idea.
Okay. You need to do a version of her with like the full fur trim and like red velvet, and have that be like her royal attire, like when she goes on like official state business and is visiting other, like, national leaders or whatever. Then she would wear this ceremonial garb that has like the white fur trim and bells and whatever nonsense on it. That would be so freaking cool to have that along with everything else. Oh, dude. Mrs. Claus paper dolls. Dude, that wouldn't be that hard, man.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
But like,
I'm just throwing it out there.
But this is honestly one of the best designs, for at least, because I don't think Mrs. Claus gets enough love in any form of media, for that matter. Not even gonna lie. But imagine seeing a sci-fi Mrs. Claus movie. Sign me up.
Oh yeah, where she's the
Sign me
badass
up.
commander getting stuff done. That would be epic.
Like maybe she's actually like fighting in the forefront, being like, "Make sure my husband delivers his presents. If not, he ain't getting it tonight." Like.
Or like,
defending
the base while he takes off, and she's like willing to die fighting, the oncoming slaughter of, goblins that are trying to steal Christmas or whatever.
Like, whatever the heck it is. And I can imagine a fun Jupiter Jack episode where, he's out there. It's a holiday episode. It's the seasonal time within the most of the galaxy, in which they're all like, about to have this one time, this, that, whatever. All of a sudden, havoc is just terror is wreaking havoc all throughout the galaxy. I don't know what it is. It could be Lord Dominus teaming up with, the southern sector of the galaxy, where they actually, use up evil Jack Frost and Krampus aliens and laying waste or whatever.
I can see the establishing shot for the cartoon where it's snowing in outer space and all the planets have like snow on top of them. Winter has come to the cosmos.
And then all of a sudden,
I want to do that now so bad.
Monsters and evil elves and stuff like that. And then you got Mrs. Claus coming in with a laser gun, being like, "Don't you worry, I'm here." And then brings in the reindeer games. Like, come on, that would be a freaking awesome episode. For like, I would pay good money for that, honestly. So yeah, the holiday episode was great. This Christmas episode was a ton of fun to put together.
Is the one guy having the cigar and the missing eye and his antlers chopped off, and just thinking like, what happened to this dude? What did he go through? What hit him? I like to think it was something serious, or it was like a darts accident.
This world's rendition of Rudolph, because I know that Rudolph is still like not really public domain. I know he's more of a copywritten character and stuff like that. But imagine having a Rudolph adjacent character who actually had the broken antler, the the eye mask, smoking a cigar. He would be the head honcho that would lead the other factions. So it would go Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, the Rudolph stand-in, and then the 8 generals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be epic.
Oh yeah, so that was super awesome. Benjamin says, "I did a snowman robot, cyborg Santa, alien Jack Frost, reindeer military, and then Mrs. Claus mech pilot. So you guys can use my cyborg elf design as like an iRobot
thing."
Ah, okay. I knew that. Totally did. All right. Not only that, but from Christmas to then New Year's, we then got ourselves into a different situation, because I don't know why I have these out of order. There we go. So from Christmas to New Year's, we ended up doing something a little different. We decided to roll up 2 completely different characters, and these are like side characters that would exist within the Starbound universe. So, Mr. Fish, what is it that you rolled up?
I rolled up a 1 foot tall robot bear who is, let me see, a bounty hunter robot bear who's under 1 foot tall, extremely wealthy, and a kleptomaniac on top of that. So what I ended up doing was making him almost like a Teddy Ruxpin, like knockoff, like a supposed to be a sentient companion for your kids, but his sentience came on a little too hard. and he, broke free, got out of the place, and escaped Milner Robotics. Because his name, Mr. Big, is his tag from the factory Milner Robotics, Bear first generation, and first generation didn't work, and they had to cease production after him. But so now he started making money as a bounty hunter, and then very quickly started hiring other robots to be bounty hunters for him, and he amassed a fortune really quickly. And now we just started riffing and came up with a whole list of uh, deals with them, and like how they don't hire organics and whatnot. So my cover is him being carried around on a platter by one of his mini uh, robot minions, and he doesn't usually have to fight anymore. But if he does, you better watch out, because he will take a straight razor to your Achilles tendon quick. But also, he's a kleptomaniac. So even when he's making a deal with somebody, he's liable to steal a ring right off their hand and stick it in his big pouch on his belly, because, he's a koala. So he's got to have a pouch. And, it just. He's too cool, man. He's too cool. I really love him, and I really love the way his simplistic design came out so simple and still reads Bear so easily. And I'm so happy with him. And the big old cigar that he smokes for no reason, because he doesn't have lungs, but it makes him look tough. And I just think he's cool.
Oh yeah, it is one of the best designs by far. Sorry if I'm always popping in and out, because I don't know what's going on with my side over here. But
I blinked for a second, but you're good now.
Yeah, no, it was like it did that already like twice. Anyways, outside of that, so I finally have what I wrote down over here. I rolled up a shopkeeper alien who is like unevolved, meaning they're still in their like primal animalistic form. If you like imagine if like if we had to go off of evolution, where like imagine if I was still more monkey-like or whatever, with combining two animals, that being a lizard and a shark, and then their average height of like 6 foot something or other. They lived very comfortably, and then they happen to be like a conspiracy theorist of some kind. So when designing this character, I was struggling, because I was like, how do I combine a shark and a lizard? Like, what do I even go off of? I was trying to go off of like typical like pet lizards and whatnot, until one of y'all shouted in the chat where it's like, dinosaurs are lizards, and I'm like, you were not wrong.
Yeah, so then and with the hammerhead shark aspect that you went with the eyes, that really gave him a beautiful silhouette, makes him look really interesting. Yeah. The fin on the head gives him a great head shape. Just absolutely
it was the perfect thing. Dragon Gaming, yes, you were the one that probably suggested the dinosaur one, where essentially I used a raptor body, because raptors were roughly about the size of humans, or maybe a bit bigger. And then I used a hammerhead shark eyes, while still incorporating like fins on the head, on the back, using the shark tail as like the kind of like little icing on top. And then, he's a shopkeeper. So I'm trying to make him like it's like, yes, hello there, how are you? Like, he sounds very suspicious. Like, he's like, oh, it's a conspiracy theorist. Like, yes, nice to meet you. I am Raksha. I am shopkeeper, yes? Do you happen to work for the Dogmatic Coalition? Have you seen the lizard tiles? They free me once. I don't like them. No. Are you one of them? No? Well, I may or may not have some things that you're interested in. And I think what makes it funnier is the fact that he lives a comfortable life, and he sounds unbearably suspicious.
Oh, yeah. I love that part. He sounds so guilty. Like he's really up to something.
Like, he'll be like, it's like you come in and you're like, oh, man, I really wish I had something to snack on. It's like, oh, I have something you can snack on. Suspicious, like, and then comes out and he actually brings out like a tray of cookies or whatever. It's like, these are some cookies. It's like he left hooks you every time. You're getting all the right hooks, and all of a sudden, boom, left hook. It's actually something wholesome. Like, he's a very well-meaning, reptilian shark person, alien guy who's just trying to run a shop. But he's just like, again, he just sounds way too suspicious. And if I ever did draw a cover for him, I would actually like make it look like Jupiter Jack and Meteor Mandy are actually like putting him in the equivalent of a space cop car. And he's like, I'm innocent, I tell you, I'm innocent. And then that's what actually would lead to the Deceptiles, storyline or whatever. So then it's like a story where they have to try to prove him innocent, or else something bad will happen to him.
See, I wanted it to be really big. I still have that idea in my head of making a shopkeeper that is semi-aquatic, because that got stuck in my head, and really, really big compared to everybody else, and having this gigantic shop that's half underwater, and all the really good stuff is like deep down on the shelves, deep underwater, and you know, and I just think that would be such a cool visual. It'd be such a pain in the butt to have to draw, but it would be
It
awesome.
would be so
And it
cool.
was just stuff we were riffing on making that character that spurred that in my brain, and I want to draw it so bad.
There's nothing stopping us. But so then after this one, we then got into the new year of the year of our Lord 2026. And what is it that we ended up drawing next? Because what is it that you got?
Next
Right,
was that was me and Matt on here because you were gone that day, and we rolled up. We rolled up two different characters. I rolled up an anti-hero that was human, had a minor power as an empath, and was extremely wealthy and adventure seeker. So I came up with essentially like a Robin Hood from outer space kind of character that uses his empathy for his fellow man to go out and save the day and risk his life, uses his wealth to build cool gear and travel around saving the day and helping other people out. Very much outer space Robin Hood, but I kind of dig the vibes. Something about the look just strikes me as a little generic, and
yeah,
it just doesn't pop to me as much as some of the other ones. But
I will
you
say,
can't hit a home run every single time. So
yeah, and I was gonna say too, because I think that episode as well, that was more of as much as the art was really fun there. You've also had a lot more of an in-depth conversation about the art industry, and then also
oh
art
yeah,
school, especially with the guests that you had on that day. So that was more. It was more or less a fun. I feel like the art in that episode, at least, it was just more like something to kind of help, you know, stimulate yourselves while you guys were kind of drawing and talking, talking
we
about.
had a lot of new people pop in that day that hadn't been in before, and started asking a lot of interesting questions. And being as we're both sort of teachers, he does it, professionally. It's a full-time job. Uh, we took the advantage to share what we knew, and it was a good episode. But yeah, his character came out really neat. The I wish I had the images for it. He ended up coming up with a short little
Pirate-looking robot. I
yeah,
remember.
pirate like frog kind of guy because he had jumping powers.
Right.
Came out really cool.
So so one day, I think it was like one random morning, I decided that I was going to roll up different traits, and I rolled up 3 different character concepts, and one of them kind of stood out to me a little bit more, and that's actually the one that you're seeing right now, which is actually a tentacle-faced, one-eyed, insectoid, adjacent looking kind of creature with 4 limbs. It had like supposedly like armor plating, and I came up with this guy. I used basically Dr. Pepper as his clothing colors, which were very, very nice. He a bit generic, but also still very unique. And in my opinion, I think this would be a very fun character. I decided to kind of make him a pilot. So he would actually be like the best pilot within his sector of the galaxy. I feel like he would definitely work with Jupiter Jack, Meteor Mandy, on going on some space adventures. Maybe they're not the best pilots, but he's the pilot. That's what I think of this guy, as him being like, oh, where is it that we're heading out to now, Jupiter Jack? Like I can see him definitely being the fun little, not a complete side character, because I feel like he can also still pull his weight in some situations, but I feel like he's more, background kind of a character, like someone that's just there to kind of fill the alien quota of the team that is, this Jupiter Jack sci-fi team and stuff, because I can words.
I do not have the card for episode 7.
I think episode 7 we did the random monsters, if I'm incorrect.
Maybe.
Right? Because that's what I got.
I should
That's what
have
I got
written it
next.
down, but I apparently didn't. I'm surprised I didn't write it down. I've been doing really good about writing them all down. Anyway. Yeah, the monsters are the next one. So.
Yep, and this was definitely a doozy for sure, because we had to combine a gorilla, a squid, raccoon,
and
and
that vampire
and a bat.
squid.
It was a bat. So it was a bat.
Oh yeah,
raccoon,
bat. That was it. That was the
gorilla,
other one.
and we created whatever these unholy abominations are.
That was honestly too many animals to have to mix together into one thing. That was too much. I often do mixing two animals together into a new creature as like a warm-up thing to do, or like a project to do when I'm talking to a group of kids or something at a school. I will have them yell out animals and I'll draw them together and then I'll give it up to somebody. But 4 was a lot. That was a lot to get in there, though. And I took 2 shots at it. The second one I liked a lot better.
Okay.
Of mixing the wings and the squid skirt in together.
Yeah, because it was like a Dracula squid, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Got an armadillo, raven, termite, and sea urchin. I do plan on drawing it at some point. Hey, well, I would love to see it. But so I tried my best trying to incorporate all the elements of the animals as best as I could by going off of a gorilla body, which we both did. But I took it a step further by giving it 6 arms like the octopus, or the squid in this case. I even gave it the little ears on its forehead, giving it the bat ears, the bat mouth a little bit, giving it the raccoon tail and the colors as well. So like you get to see the eyes have like the black mask kind of vibe. You see the stripes on the arms and the legs. And not only that, I decided to kind of give it a rougher edge by making it look like it has been like cut. Like I feel like this particular beast has seen some things or has encountered like maybe tribal nations on different planets or something like that, or maybe on the planet that it inhabits. So you see like it has a bunch of puncture wounds and cuts and whatnot. So it's more like gliding. You can't really do anything about it. And I tried. And when I showed this to a friend, she's like, what the heck is this? And I will admit, I am very proud of the way that it came out, especially color wise. Because
the colors are great.
I decided to go with the more earthier colors for the more of the body, but then to give it the alien factor, I went with a neon like cyan or a blue. So I very much enjoyed this process putting it together. And then of course the tongue I think was equally like the selling point, because you can see that it goes like from bright to dark, like going to further down the mouth. This was definitely a very tricky episode. The fact that we managed to relatively pull it off is saying something, because this one really did get the better of us.
I was expecting like a Godzilla or something. I was not expecting this thing. This thing would be so terrifying to come at you from the darkness. I think if I were to use it regularly, I would probably cut the raccoon parts, because that just makes it feel a little less threatening.
Yeah.
But, like the space gorilla bat with the teeth all inside the ribs and the squid like cape to be able to grab things and pull it in, that's freaking terrifying.
Dragon Gaming Best over here. He goes, they go, you made a monster, when the audience goes, what is that? And that's true. Even for us, we're like, what is this? We're not expecting to draw, like, again, mind you, this show is extremely unscripted. The best we got is, okay, we're doing a villain, we're doing a hero, we're gonna figure it out.
And that's usually pretty last minute.
And even at that rate, that's also last minute. The idea of drawing villains, heroes, etc. So this was a very tricky episode. It did get the better of us, especially, I will say, Fish more than me, because I somehow managed.
Yeah, this was my second shot at it, but I like this. I just, like I said, I think the raccoon takes out some of the threatening from it.
I honestly
you
think
know?
it's the tail. I feel like if you took the tail out and you replace it, I think this would be a much more menacing creature, in
Mhm.
my humble opinion, that nobody
And I
else
don't
would.
mind the eye stripes, that I kind of dig.
Oh
But
yeah.
like the stripes on the shoulders and the tail, the big poofy tail, I just don't think fit. If I could
No.
just bring that webbing down to his like feet and stuff, I think that would be
Oh yeah, that'd be
the way to
awesome.
go. I
So
think.
yeah, this was definitely one strange episode. But again, I can see Jupiter Jack, Meteor Mandy, or any of the other characters that we have so far. Like imagine your Robin Hood character going in trying to hunt down one of these things. That could
Oh
be a fun
man.
little. That could be
Or
a fun
like
side story.
just trying to save the day and this thing comes descending from space and then grabs you in its net-like wings and now you're stuck inside this flesh bag with spikes everywhere and a really hungry like gorilla bat trying to eat you inside this thing. That is not a place I want to be.
No, and now Dragon Gaming
No.
also says I can see Jack saying, "It's right behind me, isn't it?" Like I can also because also Jack would also grow to the size of this thing trying to fight it, and then like when he gets back up, he goes, "Ugh." And then I can see Meteor Man being like, "Oh no," he's like, "It's behind me, isn't it?" Grabs him by the head, yanks him, whatever, having a whole battle and a half.
I don't want
Oh
to take on
man,
the Weeping Angels either. That kept me up at night.
that actually
episode.
scared my brothers. That didn't scare me as much, weirdly enough.
That one kept me up at night at first, just thinking about the not being able to take your eyes off of it. And then they add to the lore to where, you can't even look at it for too long without it making its way into your mind. And now you have a weeping angel inside your mind. Or anything that you recorded on or take a picture of it becomes an actual weeping angel that will come out of that picture and get you. And that's too much, dude. That's too much.
Yeah, no, I will say Doctor Who in that instance definitely. You think Marvel and DC take their ideas and try to expand upon that? Doctor Who does that, and then like tenfold, 20-fold, 30-fold. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
hey Caleb, how you doing? Anyways, on to what we ended up drawing next from the next episode, which was like a spaceship. Now we were given weirdly enough, I came up with a list and everything, and the funny part about it is the fact that. What's it called? The funny part about it is the fact that we had to use a hammer, and then we ended up rolling up rings. For some reason, Mr. Fish rolled up like different parts of the ship, like what size it would have been, like what the item is based on, and then I kept rolling up rings. I don't know what it is. I guess like Jupiter Jack really had his influence on the galaxy. So these were the spaceships we managed to create. And Mr. Fish, I think yours looks more like the actual proper hammer that everyone would have with just a twisted, a handle. What happened in this process here?
Well, as I was thinking about, and at first I was thinking like hammerhead shark was what I was thinking at first. And then when somebody in the chat or you or something mentioned like an actual hammer, I don't know why that didn't occur to me. But it hadn't. So then I changed what I was doing and turned the hammer around and used it as like a tower standing up and the prongs of a framing hammer down below to go with one of the cylinders that we had to have to be like the power source for this thing, that it used this like cylindrical power source instead of having like outward thrusters and things. And then it had to have a stabilizing ring on it, so that's the ring on the back. And so this big ring behind it spins and spins and spins and generates this force inside that like pops it from one space in the galaxy to the next. And then it was just a matter of taking things that I had around here. Like I grabbed a little box cutter that I had around here somewhere, because I grabbed it from here. But I took that box cutter, and that's what this section is here underneath that little set of windows. These little side towers are literally just like this pin that I took and took the shape from. I was like, oh, that would be
I can
cool.
see it.
And then I took like the head of the hammer again and turned it around and put it on the back, and repeated that shape again to try and throw off the shape of it being a hammer per se. And
Yeah.
like copied and pasted pieces of that hammer around in different spots and just adding on things here and there. And then I didn't finish it. I had to go back and finish it because
Yeah, because
I like the image of your finished spaceship, and I was like, yeah, I can't have him punking me out. So I had to I had to go back and finish it the other day.
so yeah, because we also got the 5-star. But I will say though, for my ship, so I obviously went with a more sledgehammer kind of vibe, or like a cartoony sledgehammer. And a lot of the rings I tried to incorporate with it, I can see those rings being more like that's where the civilians kind of live and whatnot, and the actual base of like the shops. Because again, this is supposed to be like the size of Manhattan or like a full blown
Oh, yeah.
city. Because this is supposed to house like communities of people, tourists and aliens of all kind. This is supposed to be like culturalistic ships that are traveling from one part of the sector of the galaxy to another. So for me, a lot of these rings are like communities that they would essentially live in. The big base of it all is also where there are shops and different sectors and different people kind of like living in it. Again, it's like treating New York like if it was a spaceship. So for me, a lot of the big head honcho command regions are definitely like on the upper sections of it, and then I tried making it look like a spaceship to an extent. I thought
I really like the way it looks. Like you took the sledgehammer, almost like Harley Quinn style, like giant sledgehammer kind of approach with it, that takes it away from looking like a hammer, like mine kind of does a little bit, to like it almost looks like a hot rod. Like it has like the big wheels in the back, but like that looks like a giant like engine of some kind, that generates the force that, shoots this thing across the galaxy. And I really like the way it came out. I think that came out really cool.
Oh yeah. Hey bro, how you doing? Sorry, my brother popped in the chat.
What I really wonder is, could I show this to like 20 random people, and would 20 people say, oh, that's a hammerhead? Or would they say, that's a really wild ship design? How did you come up with it? That's what I'm really curious about.
And then Benjamin over here says your ship looks like the Q ships from Infinity Wars, like kind of like the ships that like Thanos's leaders were kind of commanding, and they had like that whole interaction with Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and whatnot. In that, like again, the very circular ships. I guess that's what the kind of ships that Benjamin's thinking about, and like that's what yours kind of brings about. I didn't even notice like the pen caps, the box knife aesthetic. That is actually really interesting. I love the fact that you're trying to like. Again, that's the prop making side of you, because I know that you also you actually.
I got a whole freaking set of drawers over there full of junk I've been collecting for years, of like cool bottle lids and cool little doodads and neat shapes and things. Or like if I'm at the dollar store and I see a toy or something that has a neat shape, I will buy up a few and I'll stick them in the drawer for later. And they're great for making little props and things. And like I built that whole ship for Alice Lost in Wonderland over yonder. I'll grab it real quick. I built that whole thing just out of junk I had in like an hour, because I needed to be able to see this ship from different angles and keep it consistent. So having crap on hand that I can do that with comes in real handy. But like this is like a pipe toy, these are straws, this is like an applesauce container, this is a gear from like a Connects type toy, these are little guns that I got from some plastic toy at the dollar store. These are actually
Final Faction, I think it is.
This is a water container from like a highway road service toy set, and I stuck it on there sideways and put a magnet on it, and now I can clip that guy on there and and I dropped him into the dark. But I can clip him on here and move him around and have it aimed wherever I want it to be. Some of it is foam, some of it is like 3D printed barrels and stuff that I've collected over the years. There's a lot of Connects parts. There's a lot of random little guns I've kept from model kits and things.
And like the top of it is a Gatorade bottle.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100% a Gatorade bottle. The inside of it is a Gatorade bottle. That's cut out of a Gatorade bottle. Um, I have plastic shot glasses on the back for thrusters. This is like off of a toy railroad track. Um, just lots of little junk I've collected over the years. And the back of this stuff is all like plastic tubes and shot glasses and things to make the thrusters that shoot it around. But it makes for a cool model. And now I can take pictures of this thing from any angle, and any extreme angle I need to get, I can take a picture and it always looks consistent.
So for anyone making a sci-fi universe, and if you want to actually make your model like spaceships and whatnot, kit bash it, grab some junk, literally glue it together, give it a good old paint job, and see where it takes you. And obviously,
next time I'm just doing that on a live stream, because I tried filming it and my camera ended up dying halfway through. If I was live streaming, I would be able to see out of the corner of my eye on the big screen that it's going or not. And I lost most of it while I was trying to film it because the camera stopped.
And then we got Benjamin over here saying, imagine a Titanic being trying to use my ship like an actual hammer because it's within the shape. Oh, that would be brutal. Oh, man, because then the lives that'll be at stake. And then Dragon Gaming said, mine was a leech that drained other ships by landing on them to fuel itself. And it's a person-sized ship. It's like the motorcycle.
Oh, yeah. I remember that somebody had rolled that up and talking about like the silver bullet jet that they used to have that was like just big enough for one pilot in, and it was a little bitty tiny thing that they would fly around. They used it in one of the James Bond movies, I think, too, as like one of his like super props.
All right, so then on to our next image. This one was interesting. So I think we rolled the two separate characters, and
we rolled up like we started from the same place, sort of. But you got a robot, I got an alien, but we both had a bunch of animals we had to mix together. I think we got
and I think that for me, that's what kind of killed it a little bit, because I'm like, I feel like the animals in this instance, I was like, I kind of wish I didn't go for it, or if I did, I wish I didn't do a robot. I kind of wish I did like an actual organic creature, because that's basically what this would have been. But it had like a telekinetic ability of some kind. I think I have the description of its powers here. Yep. All right, hold on. Let me just rasterize that really quick, and then we'll just invert it. Basically, it is a robot that has the features of an armadillo, a fish, a big cat. It has telekinesis, and its power works on a timer. Now, obviously, this thing is clearly just built more for just, I guess, more tactical uses more than anything else, I guess. It's a unique fit. The powers doesn't really fit the vibe for it. If it was like, I don't know, I feel like I could have done something entirely different. For me, this was like my raccoon gorilla episode for me, because the powers were there. I just wish I didn't roll aliens for it, or like roll like animal features for it. And if I did roll animal features, I wish it was for more of, a proper, organic being, because this would have killed it as a, as an actual alien rather than a robot.
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin says it would be interesting if Mr. Fish is big, transform and combine a ship with the head being that would be hilarious. Like, Mr. Big just ends up combining with the ship and its head being just the head while the body of the ship is just there. Like Pinky and the Brain style. Like the brain would be different bodies.
I was going to say the same thing, like Pinky and the Brain. Little tiny head, great big body. That's the thing that I find fun about this, though, is that it pushes us out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And makes us do things that we wouldn't do otherwise. Because if we're just going to like keep drawing superheroes every time, that's easy. And,
that's true.
That doesn't make us stretch and do more. It's when I have to do something uncomfortable that I don't want to do that I end up, getting more creative. It doesn't always come out gangbusters, but, but sometimes it comes out cool, and I'm always appreciative for the challenge. This one really gave me a hard time getting a silhouette that I liked, because at first I had an alien combining a shark, rabbit, and a wasp with the powers of jumping and cloaking. So I definitely had to get the legs in there for jumping, and uses an ancient weapon. I didn't even draw a weapon. I forgot about that part as I was trying to figure out the body, because I spent so long trying to get the body down, and I was going very Jeff the Land Shark, trying to figure out how do I make the body look like a fat shark and a wasp's abdomen with a pointy, you know.
Rabbit ears with the rabbit feet and like using the rabbit hands. It was
Yeah.
yeah, these threw us for a loop for sure. I mean, for me more than anything else, I like the way that this came out, and I can see this being like a polar adjacent kind of a creature. Yours is
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, I like your character design too, because that's the kind of character that would be like teaming up with Jupiter Jack, Meteor Mandy, you know, like the barbarian-esque, you know, like tribal member
It
of a sci-fi.
definitely feels like a very like a crazy take on like Buzz Off from He-Man, the B
Yeah.
guy. Like, you know, it feels like a very alien hero comrade, you know, that doesn't look anything like us. But which is why I gave him kind of the He-Man breastplate, because once I hit on the He-Man idea, that gave me a body shape with like big shoulders. I can make his upper arm a little smaller and make his forearms gigantic to kind of get that bunny vibe with the paws
Yeah.
again, and then mix the bunny ears with the wasp wings. And I had a completely different color scheme that was more shark themed, but then later on it hit me with the yellow and the orange, and I decided like that's what his camouflage is. All these different sections of his body, he can change the color in, you know, and skew it one way or another. So he can't completely disappear, but when you put a camouflage type pattern and being able to change the colors to match your surrounding, he can do pretty good at disappearing.
Okay.
And
Okay. Ooh, imagine your Robin Hood character teaming up with that character, and they traverse the galaxy together. So you got basically the barbarian and like the ranger working
mhm.
together on like, you know, different missions. And of course he goes the barbaric route, and yet your ranger goes the more tactical, you know, way of doing things. So it's like, I don't need money. I don't need that. I just want to take down my enemies. And then you got the Robin Hood being like, look, I'm here for the cash flow, but also we got to take this thing down. Like, I could see that happening so many
Oh, I
times.
like that. I like that combination. It's almost like it's almost like a smarter flip on like Thundar the Barbarian. You know, like you, this guy would basically be Ukla, and you know, be like the big, strong, you know, get it done
Meathead.
barbarian dude, and then you know he would be smart and agile and thinking it through and a little more self-serving, I guess. But
Oh, for sure.
that would be a cool combination. That would be a really cool combination. And it just hit me. Like I decided to go just because I thought it was weird. I went with many rows of rabbit teeth instead of shark teeth. And rodent teeth freak me out because they are so sharp. They're like razor blades in vice grip pliers. They will cut right through everything. And the thought of having endless rows of those, I'm just like he would chew through stuff like a radioactive beaver or something, just cut right through just about
Oh
anything
yeah,
with those teeth.
that would be brutal.
Oh
And then
man.
these were very interesting character designs for sure. And I liked the way that I did my character. And again, I would probably find a way to go the more organic route because I like the design. I just feel like the power sets are different. I feel like this could have been a more proper alien similar to yours, where its features are its powers. You know, like it's an armadillo cat fish thing.
Mhm.
So I like the way it came out. I just wish I would have done it a touch different. But again, it did have to break me out of my comfort zone. I also love the colors I used for it as well. The
Oh yeah.
purples and the white. It worked really, really well together on this.
Hmm.
But I can see this being like a fun tactical. Again, I can see some of these characters working with Jupiter Jack or just being off on a completely different section of the galaxy. Like this one is definitely like a robot that is just somewhere out there, just doing its own thing, you know? And then I believe, what, we're not, oh yeah, so this wasn't it. I'm thinking, I have some of these. No, wait, was this on? Nope, it was this one, then that one. There we go. So then the next episode of that, we did essentially like, what was it? I have it here.
We got
And
robots.
yeah, we both got robots this time. Now I did the first sketch for it. I think it was in that first sketch where I deleted it. Dang it! Unless did I? Did I actually? Maybe I did. Dang it! Nope. Is it here? Frick. Wait. No. Yeah. No. Never mind. No.
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute.
No.
Everybody hold your breath.
No, I didn't. But basically, I rolled up a more insectoid, wasp adjacent. What's it called? It was a wasp adjacent. It's like robot of some kind where it had the ability to freeze. It had the ability to leap. And its powers worked on or I think the more it uses its powers, it's kind of like dying out, like as it's using it, if I'm incorrect. Now, the first time I did it, it didn't look good at all. It was a very skinny, lanky, bug man looking thing. But then I decided to kind of go for the more toyetic feel of it. And I'm like, look, if I'm going to treat the thing like if it was from the 80s or from like the 70s, and this was like a cartoon that my dad would be watching, like I want this to be an action figure that would be like on shelves. So I decided to go for a completely different look, make it look more boxy. I played up the legs on this one to have like what looks like springs, so it still had that jumping feature to it. Definitely keeping up with the wasp aesthetic, keeping the bug abdomen.
Oh, dude, those plastic pipes that extend and collapse. That would be so cool in the legs to be able to jump. That would be so neat.
Would be. And then, of course, I wanted to keep the icy blue aesthetic with it. So I used the random color palette generator, and then I decided to stick with that palette as best as I could. So I used like the icy blues for the wings and the eyes. And then, of course, it has like this stinger that looks like shards of ice or like a crystal energy of some kind. So that was more or less kind of like my vibe there. A bit bulkier. Obviously, I wanted to go leaner, but I'm like, I just wanted to fix it up. I definitely fix it up later. I very much enjoy it.
It looks like an action figure. It looks like a toy you could have pulled off the shelf in the 80s and, hold it to the light just right, and all that like translucent plastic glows and stuff. It would have been.
Oh, yeah. And the name was Blizzard Wasp, but it's spelled with like letters and numbers and other signs as well. So I love this design. I really like the way that this came out. And I could see this definitely being like the android that Lord Dominus would use. Or, maybe it's like it tries to go against, the Cosmic Coalition, but all of a sudden, it decides to have a change of heart, and its final moments, it, decides to freeze up whatever as like a last heroic deed of some kind. Like I can see that happening, like a heroic sacrifice that this character would create.
Mine went a little bit of a different route. I got a robot invertebrate with a minor power and a major power of changing skin color and intangibility, and its power requires a major transformation. So as I was thinking of different invertebrates and stuff, like what alien species would have designed this thing, I hit on the idea of it being like designed by alien jellyfish, and then it being more of a bioengineered robot, that is grown and produced rather than forged out of steel, and has a bunch of biocircuitry and stuff in it. And for it to go intangible, it's like a major transformation for it. Like it has to put all of its energy into like storing up energy to do this, so it's vulnerable for a while, and then it goes intangible. But it's going intangible for a certain amount of time. Like the longer you store up your Kamehameha energy to do that blast, the longer he's going to be intangible. But he can't just come back. He's intangible, and then he can come back when that's over. So I love the limitation of that. Like you could just spontaneously come back solid when you don't want to, or you're surrounded by enemies. Or it's either you're surrounded by enemies or you're inside of a wall. Which are you going to choose to become solid again? Like it's like
the time tactical usage of it as well. Not only that, I can definitely see this on a more cosmic horror level as well. A bioengineered, robot, produced by these strange, otherworldly jellyfish-like creatures. Mm-hmm. And imagine a random spacefaring adventurer comes across this. That guy is screwed for a good chunk of time until he knows how to take it out.
Oh yeah, and I'm thinking being as they're designed neural fibers and stuff in this, you could probably hack organics pretty easily, I would think. Like a supercomputer could hack lower computers. So like it would be pretty easy, I would think, for this guy to commandeer a lot of organics and be able to pilot them and make them do what he wants and stuff. So yeah, absolutely terrifying creature to come in contact with. Now I want to do a story about him, about coming across him in space and not knowing what it is, and then all of a sudden it like grabs a hold of your mechanic for your ship and starts piloting him around the ship, doing all
Or
kinds of
or
crazy.
or you can go a different route where you make that particular like robot or that bioengineered cyborg or whatever. But imagine if they okay, comedic one. It's like both scary and comedic at the same time. Where like imagine there were a bunch of these tiny little floating jellyfish, but they attach themselves to like the people's heads or whatever, or like some random part of their body, kind of like Starro, but like instead of it just being on your face, it could also just kind of be like attached to you wherever. And you can kind of play on that whole like, there's too many of them, we got to take them out. Like this could be the Starro for this universe. Hey there, Eddie, how you doing? Yeah,
and the thought of like walking into like a cargo bay and it's just full, like it's spawned, and there's thousands of these little things floating in the air. Oh my god, that would be terrifying.
That would be. I'm Dragon Game and listening off all something like biomechanical similar to Warframe. I don't know what that is. Don't attack me.
I broke my backer goal. I'm at my new all-time high of 113 backers.
Let's go, guys. That is awesome. Congratulations.
And we are like $202 away from hitting $6,000 and releasing the trading cards. So that's freaking awesome.
Guys, let's go. I am that is awesome. That is great. I have no idea how else to transition to the next character.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Hey, that's better news than anything else. Episode 11, this one was interesting, where we were granted. So again, hit with the cybernetics and the robotics part of it kind of annoyed me a little bit because my character looks more organic than anything else. So character was an android that was made by an invertebrate species who has the ability. Hold on, let me see. Where it has two minor powers like shock, which I'm assuming is like electricity or something like that, and then also is a were animal of some kind and has an ancient weapon. So I didn't do the ancient weapon part, but I guess I forgot to put that into mine. But the way that I kind of went out with mine was like the were aspect of it. I decided to make it more like a Beast Wars Transformers kind of a thing, where it's a robot that transforms into, like a particular animal. So for mine, I looked up different invertebrates. I decided to do a crab because crabs are weirdly enough a specialty of mine since I've drawn a crab character before. And I wanted to make it look really sleek and really cool, still giving it its crab-like feel and still giving it that, I don't know, just I like the way that this came out. Again, I kind of wish that this was more of a I wish there was more of an organic thing, but I can still play it up like Beast Wars Transformers to where its transforming factor can still give it that like, mechanicalized edge and whatnot. So I like the way it came. I very much love the design for it. And again, the body frame was something similar to how I wanted to do the, Blizzard Wasp concept. But I decided it better worked in this situation. Again, it looks like one of those shell formers where the back of it is more like the actual crab body itself, and you can kind of see how the elements of the crab work into its transformation. So I very much enjoyed the process of this design. And not only that, but I think we decided to do like a hero and a villain, and I ended up doing the hero. Like I rolled up the hero for it, and it looks like an evil villain. Like this looks like it could be a Decepticon or what's it called? The Predacon.
Or one of the bad guys on Power Rangers, that's going to grow 80 stories tall and stomp on the city.
Exactly. But the ironic part is that this would be the actual hero of the story. And Mr. Fish, he went off on you got to talk about how yours came in, because I love the way that this came out. Like the design wise, it's awesome.
Yeah, mine is an android from a species of aliens that are a shark, big cat, lizard hybrid. And it has two powers of either heat and cold or jumping, and the power's on a time limit. So I mixed the two species together, came up with this android type robot / action figure looking body because it straight up looks like it's an action figure with all of the joints and stuff in it.
Yep.
But I went, very lizard themed, used like the lizard spikes to kind of hint at fur a bit here and there, and gave it the long tail and tried to incorporate the fins and stuff into it, and some stripes from like a tiger and stuff into the body, and decided that I was going to make it just like purely a cold generating android. But its power's on a time limit. Like, it only has so much it can use those blasts. So it could either do like one really big one, or 10 shorter blasts, or whatever. But it's got to be fast. It's got to jump and dodge and fight and hand to hand, more than it does rely on its ice blast, and be way more strategic with using the ice so that he doesn't run out altogether. But and yeah, he absolutely, looks like the protagonist from an anime or something, but he's the bad guy.
He gives anime protagonist vibes, but he is the bad guy. Like, that's what I love about it, because the design looks so cool, and I wish it was for the hero, but in reality, like, it's a cold android.
I love the thought of him, like we tend to what is the word, anthropomorphize predators and want to make them our cute little babies. Like, every time I pet my cat, he seems so cute until the teeth and the claws come out, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're designed to kill things. I forgot. And we want to make them our cute little snuggy boogums. But I like the thought of this guy being much more cold shark lizard than he is cat. And if you hear him purring, it's because he's ready to attack and eat you or whatever, not because he's happy. And I love his design. Part of me feels like I left something out with him not having clothes, but then I kind of feel like a reptilian species probably wouldn't wear clothes either. So him not wearing clothes doesn't seem so weird to me, I guess. But if he's wearing clothes, then I can't show off the back fin and all that stuff. So
not only that, I think Dragon Game said that his name is Volt Viper, if I'm incorrect.
That would be cool.
I think that's what Dragon Games stated, that what your character's name is. Or I think they're probably talking about their character. Never mind. They're talking about their character.
Oh,
we're good.
Yeah, this is when I made the hybrid metal electric snake character. Ooh, that would be cool. Like an electric bite. Oh, man.
Oh.
That would be awesome.
Hence the name Volt Viper. That way. Oh, you see, our nieces and nephews over here having better ideas than us. How dare they?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then, of course, we ended off on a very unique note. Again, we just kind of went back to basics on it, used the old lists, and we created our final characters for season 2. So, yeah, what was it? Because I started. This is when I started putting them on the actual thing over here. So I got a superhuman. So we use, I think it was either your list of tables. So I got a superhuman with one major power, which is body weapons, and then their power is on a time limit. So that is the character that I went with, and I decided to play it up. The naming wise was like, okay, how do I make this work? Like, what's the name that could work? Because her power is like she has body weapons, transforming her body to have weapons. And we were coming up with really, really cool names. The chat was coming up with really awesome ones, like Transformation Trisha or Transforming Trish or something like that. But then for me, because I got into Kamen Rider and the way that they say transform is Henshin, so I decided to call her Henshin Hannah. Because again, it has that alliterative title. I love the vibe that it brings, and of course the Cosmic Coalition uniform. I love the way that it comes. Like, again, it came together. I wish I was gonna go for designing her full body like I did with Jupiter Jack, but I wanted to break out of always drawing the character symmetrically, and I wanted to put her in a position to where you can see her powers creating body weapons. So in one hand she has a bigger fist, like Miss Marvel, or like one of the Miss Marvels, and then the other one she has her hand like in a spike formation, getting to show off the ability that her body can transform, hence Henshin Hannah. And I would love to see a body horror rendition of this where we actually get to get into how that actually looks either creepy or really kind of cool. Again,
how much it
If-
hurts to do.
or that
'Cause-
too.
Oh,
But like but I would say, because I also remember popping over on Mr. Fish's stream and being like, hey, maybe we can create a fun, some guy on his stream was like, hey, we should make Jupiter Jack into a fun, kids book. So probably don't do the body horror elements of that.
mine, I got a tripedal alien with the power of flight, and the power came from an item. So I had a lot of fun wrapping my brain around how to design a character that had a 3-part symmetry, and not a 2-part symmetry like we have and everything on our planet pretty much has. So that really got my brain going, and so everything is segmented into 3 parts. And I was kind of inspired, like you said, by a virus, by that kind of body shape and blocking things out, and joints and things and pieces that move around kind of separately on their own. So like the head is nearly a separate piece on a fleshy neck that can go whichever direction it needs to go. It has an eye on all 3 sides. He has 3 shoulders and 3 arms that can go in whichever direction, with 3 fingers and 3 legs that can walk in any direction or jump or leap. And then when it came to the power coming from an item, I was reminded of that's a good one, Dragon Gaming. Probably would.
You would.
I was reminded of my friend's Lee Gaston's story that he did, that he worked on. I think it was Limits, I think was the name of the book. It's a really good book. And the character got these gauntlets from outer space that let him fly. And so I thought, what better than to basically do an homage and give him those gauntlets that give him the power to fly. But now, it's limited to this item, and it's an item that could be stolen or could be lost or could run out of power. But so, he's just a regular alien dude, and then finds these gauntlets, and somehow there manages to be 3 of them. So he puts them on, and now he is a superhero of his planet, saving the day and everything on the local level, and probably gets on the radar of the Cosmic Coalition, and goes on bigger adventures someday, or they come in to save his life when he's get overwhelmed by bad guys or whatever.
Oh man, and that would be one hell of an action figure too. I would love to see how that would work out. Like, I mean, production wise, that'd probably be a pain in the neck having to create this character and having all those joints and whatnot. But
be trouble to try.
That is a really overall, that's a really cool vibe. Oh.
That was weird. That was really weird.
Yeah, am I good? Sorry, because
yeah, you're good. You're here. Though it is after 4:00, so I'm going to need to get going.
Yeah, it is. But outside of that, and of course, that more or less ends all of the cool characters that we created. This was a really fun Roll for Hero recap, getting to show off all the characters that we've drawn for the entirety of Season 2. We are still in process of creating lists for Season 3 because it is a Sandal Punk alien world. So I'm going to try to figure out what these worlds look like. The best way that I can describe what Sandal Punk is, think the Prince of Persia movie. Think John Carter of Mars. It's very alien. It's like a desolate desert-like planet, but it still has thriving cultures in it. That's the best way that I can think about that. So I'm going to try to figure out a way to create a series of lists where we can develop fun characters out of that, heroes, villains, creatures in between. So if you guys have any ideas for what we should include in that Sandal Punk world, make sure to leave them in the comments of this video down below, or shoot them in the chat while you can. But if anything, more the comments, because at least that's going to be more permanent and we can actually read those and put them all together. And also, it'll be great to get all of your amazing suggestions, and that way we can just try to implement them into the list and have them ready for Season 3. Any things you want to list off, Mr. Fish, before we sign off?
If you haven't already, go to gomrfish.com and check out the Kickstarter. There is, it's going to end in just under 2 hours. So there's still time to go check it out if you haven't, and get in on it. Check it out, and I will see you there.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for partaking on a fun Roll for Hero recap, recapping all the amazing art pieces. But it is time for us to end our overall show here. So it is me, ironically, signing off to let everyone know to stay awesome, stay weird, and to keep life to the easiest. Remember that art inspires all, but you can inspire more. But until then, everybody, we love you, and stay ultra.
Roll for hero.
You know, and even if you were to have like a prompt of 10 different things, right? Like say if you had one prompt of like, oh, like here's 10 different personality traits, here's 10 different superpowers, here's 10 different drawbacks.
I like coming up with random list of powers and then just see what I come up with.
Imagine rolling just those things every single time. It's always going to vary. You know, the possibility of that happening is again like a 1 in 10 chance, but it's like it shows that there's an infinite
There's always something else cool right around the corner that we can come up with because